Hello, and welcome to Marriage IQ, the podcast for the intelligent spouse.
I'm Dr. Heidi Hastings.
And I'm Dr. Scott Hastings.
We are two doctors, two spouses, two lovers, and two incredibly different human beings with one purpose: to intelligently turn the stinky parts of your marriage into scintillating ones. Hello, lovers. I'm Dr. Heidi Hastings. I'm a marriage and sex researcher, an educator, a wife, a mom of 4 kids, and I'm the one who laughs responsibly in this relationship. I'm here with my goofy sidekick and husband, Dr. Scott Hastings. He's a doctor, a researcher, a musician, and a dad. He's fun-loving and laughs often, and yet he's very analytical. Together, besides owning a medical practice, we've been marriage advocates and educators for about 5 years, speaking, writing curriculum, and working with couples to enhance their marriages.
Well, hello, my love.
Hello there.
I'm so happy to be here with you today in this monumental experience. Isn't it awesome?
It is. I'm so excited.
I mean, how many couples out there intentionally plan on doing a project that's really hard, really intense, and really time-consuming together?
We do a lot of those, don't we?
We must either be really crazy or really, really crazy to do this podcast together.
Maybe the really, really crazy.
You know, we're working full-time, owning our own small business. I'm a full-time physician. If that's not busy enough, that's raising kids too and being spouses. But for some crazy reason, we both feel extremely passionate about helping you, our listener, coaching you and cheering you on, you dear intelligent spouse listeners out there. We do that via scientific research through a lens of a medical doctor and through the lens of a PhD sex and marriage researcher. So together, melding these together, we have a unique educational experience with over 20 years working at the front lines of the human condition. We've learned a few things that may just help your life pop.
Pop, that sounds like a great way to handle working with marriages. I love it.
We realize you might be asking yourself, why would I listen to a podcast about something so intimate as marriage from 2 total strangers who don't know me or my circumstance? So we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves so you can get to know us better. Heidi?
That sounds like a great idea. Thanks, dear. So I grew up in a really small rural town at the foot of a mountain. So I would consider myself to be a mountain girl. My family was really large, and my parents taught me the importance of faith, hard work, service, and family. One really unique thing about our family, do you know this? Is that we had 4 pianos in our house at one time, so everyone could practice throughout the day. We sang together and we pulled weeds together. We didn't have much money. We worked hard together and we had a good time together. We loved those summer evenings that we spent time outside. My growing up was pretty idyllic in a lot of ways, and my idyllic adolescence included things like playing kick the can around town at night, going to church on Sundays, camping for huge family reunions, and attending every small town high school sporting a musical event that there was. So at the end of my freshman year of college, I got married only to be rudely awakened to the reality of my innocence and naivete about several aspects of marriage, many of which we're going to talk about in other episodes of this podcast. 7 years and 1 child later, that marriage ended in a painful divorce. So if any of you out there might be facing real marital difficulties, I'm here to say this is a no-shame zone.
Awesome.
I've been there. We understand that.
Love it.
But we do want to keep people from having to go through the pain of divorce if possible. So Scott and I met 3 years after my divorce, and we have very intentionally created an imperfect but amazing marriage. When our kids were older, I went back to school to study marriage and family relationships and received my master's and doctoral degrees in family studies. That's a degree that's similar to marriage and family therapy, but it's focused on research and on prevention. So I love that prevention element of it, and that is a big part of what really is leading us to do this podcast. I've studied family stress and coping, adult development, sexuality, the impacts of pornography use on couples, and betrayal trauma. So how about you? Tell a little bit about yourself.
Well, that's pretty heavy. What a life. I'm Scott. I am a man. I know we live in a day where, yes, I go by a man. So I grew up in Arizona. I'm fourth out of 8 children in a home with 2 parents who stayed together and are still together after over 50 years. I don't recall suffering from middle child syndrome, although I certainly had my chance to do so, fourth out of 8. As far as I know, I have a good relationship with all of my siblings and with my parents. I didn't care for high school much. I won't say that I hated it, but I'm really grateful I don't have to live my life as a skinny, scrawny teenager with acne and really awkward school dances and dates.
Isn't that true?
I just cringe when I think about that.
Yeah.
So college was amazingly better. I met my lovely wife in college at age 25. Oddly, the fact that she'd been married previously and had a 4-year-old child didn't seem to faze me. I can honestly say that the moment I met Heidi, it changed the entire trajectory of my life. I've never been the same since.
Aww.
I say Heidi is a thief. She stole my heart before I even had a chance to say, help, that lady over there, she knocked me over and stole my heart. And after 27 years, I still can't believe she steals my heart. We graduated from medical school while starting a family together and raised 4 awesome children together. As a medical doctor, I'm literally on the front lines of all sorts of problems people face on a daily basis. I get to see and take part of people in various stages of marital unity or disunity. I get to see people with mental health challenges, including depression, anxiety, both of which are now so prevalent it's actually endemic. And there's just not enough licensed professionals out there to see all these people. So I'm trying as much as I can in my position of a doctor to educate those with anxiety that there's a lot you can do yourself and with others without actually having a license to do so in order to help your mental health and well-being. And that goes for marriage too. Quite frankly, there are many counselors and therapists who charging $200 or more an hour aren't really actually good at helping their clients. There are also good ones too, don't get me wrong.
Yes, I know a lot of good ones.
There are a lot of good ones. It's just that we need to think of it maybe from a different viewpoint because it is so endemic. Patients tell me things that they won't tell their therapists. So from a medical doctor perspective, not a therapist perspective, I can provide therapy to my patients, and I do so often. And these affect marriages in a very impactful and meaningful way.
That's pretty cool. So, Scott, in the beginning, we talked about making people's marriages scintillating. Can you tell me what scintillating means?
Well, scintillating, right? It conjures up excitement, right? According to thesaurus.com, it also means brilliant, dazzling, lively, exciting, sparkling. I don't want just a good marriage or even a great marriage, my love. I only have one life to live, only one. So yeah, I want it to really count, like really pop. I want a scintillating marriage. Who wouldn't?
I can't think of anybody who wouldn't.
All right.
And our marriage is often scintillating, so I'm a proponent of that. So here's my next question for you. What are some of the stinkiest things that you see in marriages now that you've had a front row seat?
Some of the biggest things that are stinky are complete, utter lack of self-awareness. That probably is number one.
That's the number one thing you see.
Yeah. So, okay. I mean, if we did nothing else but become self-aware of who we are and what impact we create on our loved ones, that would probably fix a lot of marriages. And so, but it persists and exists just by virtue of being human, right? That we have these stinky parts of ourselves that we don't like to look at.
Okay. What other kind of issues do you see?
Well, that's stinky. I think stinky. Well, okay. So let's say you get you buy some fresh fish and salmon, and you put it. You have great plans for this salmon, And of course, salmon well done is really delicious, at least for me.
Well done meaning not overcooked, but well done meaning
Yeah,
done to
cooked
perfection.
well. Yeah, and then you put it in your fridge, and you don't do anything with it. After a few days, this really really wonderful fillet of salmon is now stinky,
That is right.
and so other stinky areas of marriage, we're not keeping it live. We're not keeping it fresh,
Right.
and that includes being intentional, doing routines that keep us from getting into a rut. And we'll talk a lot more about that in other episodes. But
It's a really great analogy. I like the visual that gives, because I also have seen that's probably the number one thing that I see as well, is that couples, they start out great. They have great intentions. Everything's fresh and exciting. But over a few years, they don't keep the intention of keeping each other as a priority. And then they are caught in this roommate situation where I hear over and over again, my husband and I are just like roommates. We hardly even talk to each other. We don't do much together. There's not much connection at all. So we really want to focus on helping people change that part. Okay. Any other parts of things that you see?
well, there's a lifetime of things we could talk about. There are folks with really solid marriages. They feel really comfortable, really confident. They want more.
Yes.
There are marriages that are on the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
They want help, and so I think the things that we have identified together with our experience are, I think, really, really powerful foundations.
They'll help us attack both of those situations, right? For the people who already have great marriages but are constantly looking to elevate them, we'll have help for them. For those who are struggling, perhaps we have some things for those people as well. So we've come up with 4 elements that we think are pretty powerful and foundational. Would you like to talk about those for a moment?
So, yeah, I can. So when you're building, I'm not an architect. I'm not do anything with construction. I know there are a lot of people who do, but one thing I do know is if you're going to build something, you need to build a foundation that is solid. It's not going to crack. It's strong. And you have a cornerstone, right, of that foundation. There's typically in a square building 4 cornerstones. We have 4 foundational cornerstones for marriage. And it's taken a long time and many years of really thinking this through, And so what are these 4 foundational principles? Well, I will say first one is identity. There are 4 I's. That makes it easy for you to remember. 4 I's. Identity, knowing who I am, knowing who you are, and
Do you know who I am?
the intelligent spouse, knowing who they are.
That's right.
So I think knowing who I am first is going to precede knowing who you are. Although they are both, if we're going to make this a scintillating marriage, knowing as much as I can who you are.
And I don't stay the same. I'm constantly changing. So you have to keep learning about who I am.
Wait,
and
what?
And I have to keep learning who you are, right?
You mean I just don't learn it? I get you figured out and it's done. It's over. I finally figured it out.
Only for me to change. Welcome to the life of a woman.
Well, welcome to life, right?
Welcome to life. Men are constantly changing as well.
Absolutely.
I like that you talked about identity as one of our foundations. I spent 2 or 3 years researching women, and we'll talk about this in other podcasts as well, but who'd experienced a shared betrayal, a shared crisis moment in their lives that totally unwound them and shook their foundation. They said, I don't even know who I was anymore because everything that I thought was true is now being questioned and I don't know what I know. Part of the outcome in weaving through the analysis of that study was that their understanding of who they were was greatly tied to someone else. Their whole new identity once they got married changed to become a we identity, and they didn't hold on to that personal identity at the same time. And so when things in their marriage started going really rough, really stinky, it really unearthed their vulnerability, and they didn't know who they were anymore. They were later able to make some changes with that, but I think this is a really important thing to talk about. So I'm really happy that that's one of our foundational principles, and that we will be moving forward with deep diving into some of that.
Awesome. Our second foundational principle in this marriage course is intentionality. The second I.
Yes.
And
tell me a little of your thoughts on that.
I love all these because it's so easy to remember. There's 4 I's, 4 foundational principles. So we got identity, intentionality. That means we are intentionally or making plans for life. We live from a proactive point of view, perspective, and not a reactive one. Now, people out there saying, well, of course I want to plan my life. I plan my life. I know what I want. But
do they plan their marriage?
Do you really? This is another thing. It's fascinating. I see with people every day. What they say and what they actually do are very, very different. And to them, they do it. In their mind, they do it. But if you were to put a hidden camera on them, they don't. And so what we're trying to do with intentionality here is kind of put that third eye, that hidden camera on yourself.
Feeds back into self-awareness.
Yeah. So that requires us to sit with ourselves and sit with our spouse, become intentional people who are planned. What do I want out of this life with you?
I love that. That's really great. In my research and also in my training, I trained with the prep for marriage relationship education course by Dr. Scott Stanley out of the University of Denver. And one of their main points that they teach very first off is decide, don't slide. And I think many of us we just slide. We make our kids our priority, or we make our job our priority, or our hobbies our priority, and let our marriage just slide. And if we do that, we're going to end up somewhere that we don't want to be. But if we decide all along the way the things that are important to us together and to our marriage together, and we're constantly talking about it, then we won't slide. We'll have that intentionality piece. I really like that. Okay, so can I announce the third one? Okay.
Yes, I'm excited.
The third I is insight. So insight, we both love this. We've been reading Tasha Urich's book called Insight together, and she has so many great things that have shed light.
Brilliant.
Yes, that
Genius.
have shed light on relationships.
Loved it.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about a couple of the things from that apply to marriages, and we'll again in other episodes tackle a lot of them with more.
Well, this is the author of this book, Tasha Urich. She goes in and actually helps organizations with insight to see things that they're not seeing. Mm-hmm. Just a fabulous read. And she talks specifically about 2 types of insight, which up until literally a few months ago, I hadn't thought about.
Okay.
Before I read her book, she talked about the internal self-awareness and external self-awareness, and how while it's important to be internally self-aware, like self-reflective,
Yes.
right? Where did I go wrong? What did I do
What can I learn
incorrectly?
from
What can I
this?
learn from this? How can I
Right.
grow?
Right.
What new things can make me into a more intelligent person?
Mm-hmm.
But she said it's equally important to know this external self-awareness. We can talk about people who are so internally self-aware, they have no clue that they're ignoring their family, or they're not keeping up socially with their spouse, with their family, making comments that might be construed as rude to other people. So it's really being on top of both of that, internal and external
I think she
self-awareness.
talked about the ostrich, where we just have our head in the sands sometimes, that we don't
Yeah.
recognize how other people are viewing us,
Yeah.
right? So that's a great third part of our foundation. And the fourth one might be my favorite. The fourth I is intimacy.
And why is it the fourth one?
Well, because it's kind of like the frosting on top of the cake. I don't know. Why do you think it's the fourth
Well,
one?
do you think maybe
It's actually built on all of the others. That's why.
so? Yeah, is that kind of the final?
Well, intimacy is deep connection. Sometimes people use the word intimacy as a replacement for the word sex. And while sex is definitely one of the deepest kinds of intimacy and one of our favorite kinds of intimacy, and we're going to talk about it a lot, there are several other types of intimacy that impact the depth of the sexual relationship. So we have been really intentional and seeking insight and trying to understand our identity, but we also really plan things every single day that give us intimacy with each other, physical intimacy through touch, emotional intimacy through sharing thoughts and feelings and talking about our day and maybe even our securities and insecurities, our goals and our dreams and our ambitions. What are some of the kinds of intimacy that you like?
Well, I have a theory.
Okay.
It's my own theory. I think the word intimacy is far different than what we think it is.
Okay, tell me.
So it's unfortunate that when we say the word intimate or intimacy, we only think of what comes to your mind. Sex, right? Or just having an intimate dinner together. And it includes all that. But I think it's far deeper.
Okay.
I think intimacy, this is the theory according to Scott Hastings, that intimacy is kind of like true intimacy is like the final reward of a lifetime of doing all these other things.
I like that.
And that is where you go to that's where that pop happens, right? There's the the ho-hum life, the pretty good life, the excellent life, and then
Thriving
like
pop.
popping.
Okay.
And because look, we all have one life. I do, you too, everyone does listening to this. It's like, why not intentionally make it the best that we can?
Right.
And so that's kind of why we feel really passionate about what we're doing here.
To wrap up, we just want to talk about we're seeking to take out the stinky parts of our marriage. We're seeking to really implement those scintillating parts of our marriage that can make it fresh and new and exciting and shiny and wonderful. And we're going to do that through 4 foundational ways. First of all, come to know our own identity, come to know who we are. Second, by being very intentional. Third, by seeking for insight into higher order thinking and behavior. And we'll each of these we'll give more ideas about. And fourth, really building intimacy within our relationship. We don't wait to build the intimacy until we've done those other 4 things. But the more we do those 4 things, the deeper the intimacy will become.
So someone might be thinking out there, hey, I thought this was a marriage podcast. This sounds a whole lot like you're doing personal stuff. You're right. The thing is, though, we have to work on ourselves before we worry about our spouse.
That's absolutely true. And we will talk about things like communication, like money, like sex. But when you're having problems with those kinds of parts of marriage, really looking at these 4 foundational principles will help stabilize problems with each of those. So we'll go into more common marriage types of things, but every time we do, we'll tie it to research and we'll tie it to these 4 foundational principles.
We promise it's going to be good.
We really are so grateful that you joined us today, and we look forward to having you join us next time on Marriage IQ.